Hi guys, Nicole Kernohan here. I'm going to just share with you for the next maybe 10 minutes or so about elevated purpose, the three pillars of purpose, really getting clear on your why, your purpose. And there's three pillars, like it says, so I'm going to walk through each one of them. And I really hope at the end of this that you'll have a good idea or have some clarity at least on understanding a bit about how to figure out your purpose. Okay, this was really exciting for me, by the way. This was really impactful dramatically in my life when I really discovered this. So I love this quote from John Maxwell. He says, what stops people from reaching their capacity often isn't a lack of desire. It's usually a lack of awareness. And unfortunately, people don't become self-aware accidentally. That is really amazing because it all comes down to awareness. We often have desires, but we're perhaps not aware of our beliefs and our values, and there's some conflict going on, and there's this inner conflict of lack of awareness of what's happening. And there's a lack of awareness in many other areas of our lives, but for today, that's just one really important piece to note. It is often a lack of awareness. Okay, so the first pillar is desire. What do you desire? Speaking of desire, what do you desire? And it doesn't necessarily specifically just mean goals. It might be a lot of desires that you have that you wouldn't have necessarily written down as a goal, but just desires that you have. I'm going to give a couple examples. So let me ask you this. Who wants to be, do, or have more? We all do. The spirit inside of us wants to grow, wants to expand. And when we can be, do, and have more, we can also give more. So we have this innate desire for more in our lives. And it comes from a good place, especially with this overflowing awareness that when we have these things, we are able to give more of our time, more of our love, more of our money, more of our joy, whatever that is. But really, we have this innate desire. So I love this description of desire. The desire is ideas within you that are trying to express themselves into physical reality. These are ideas that pulsate our thoughts and are always on the back of our mind. What is always on the back of your mind? Is it the idea of I always wanted to open this art shop? Is it I just love horseback riding? It may be a desire for a career change. It might be a desire within your health. It might be a desire for hobbies and passions. It might be a desire to travel, a desire for new homes. There's a lot of aspects, but trying to really pull out what are things that are in the back of our mind that may be at the surface, but may be tucked back. So being aware of those deeper rooted desires. So making a big list of your desires, thinking about all the things in different areas of your life. Pillar number 2 is so critical. Okay, stop the phone. Listen to what I'm going to say. This is so important, and has such a dramatic effect in my life when I realize this. What do I truly value? What do I truly value? Because if your desires or your goals and your values are in conflict, if you value spending time with your family, but you have a desire or a goal to grow your business and you believe it requires a lot of your time, it doesn't necessarily say that, not saying that it necessarily does, but if you have a belief that you require working 80 hours a week for your family, but you have a value that you want to spend time with your family, they are in conflict. They're in conflict. And guess what happens? Over time, eventually your values win. Something's got to break. It's not sustainable, okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit more about values and a few different ways to look at what you value. What are you keeping close to you? So what I mean by that is, there's a few different descriptions of that, but what is in your space? What is your environment like in your home, in your car, in your workspace? What do you spend your money on? What do you spend your time on? Those are probably the two biggest questions. Where do you spend your money? Where do you spend your time? Because that is what you are showing by your actions that you value. Even if you might say, I value something else more, by your actions, you are showing what you truly value, because your values always win. And we might say, well, I'm working so hard so that I can provide for my family. So the values are connected, but really pay attention to where you're spending your time and your money. This can be a breakthrough experience for you. If you say you value something, but your time and money is spent elsewhere, then how can we bridge that gap between what you value, what you're keeping close to in your spaces, in your environment, in your time, in your money. What does your space around you look like? I already mentioned this. And what do you spend your energy on? That's what I kind of mentioned, the energy, your time. Okay, so here's an example. For me, I know I value family, time, and fitness. Fitness or health, I don't know why I said fitness. Fitness and health in general. These are a few things that are very important in my values. And like I said, I value spending time with my son, for example, so much so that is like, that nothing could break that. Even if I had something else, a major, this is kind of a hard example, but you can tell based on where you spend your time what you value the most. I know I've said this a few times. You're hearing me repeat it, but it is because it really has to sink in. Okay, so where you're currently spending your time, money, is what you are proving through your action that you value most, even though in your heart you might say, I want to value my health, but I'm not putting any time into my health. I want to value my family, but I'm not putting any time into my family, for example. So just really doing an inner check on your values. Value harmony. I like this as well. Okay, don't just, because that last example was kind of things, but you also might value way of being or way of doing things. I really personally do value harmony and balance and being conscious of these types of emotional values, because it can affect you in your day and your life as well. And even in your business, if you're going down a certain type of business that would require you to not be in a harmonious space, but you really value harmony, you might find that there's going to be a conflict when you get into that. Okay, so you got a list of all your desires, and now you can write a list of all your values if you'd like. Sometimes I find it's helpful to write a list of what you say you value, and then write a list of what you truly are showing by your actions that you value currently, and then you can be aware of a conflict in your values. And you can also be aware of a potential conflict between your desires and your values. Okay, that was a mouthful. Last thing, pillar number 3, what are your strengths? What are you really good at? And you might have a strength in an area that you don't have a desire that matches. You don't have to do something that you're good at just because you're good at it if you don't enjoy doing it or value, or it doesn't match within your values as well. So, but really being aware of your strengths, because if you are working in your strength zone and able to utilize your strengths to fulfill your desires and line up with your values, then we find your purpose. Then we are in a breakthrough experience. So you have the opportunity to do what you do best every day. Ask yourself right now, if you think about what your strengths are, if you were to ask someone else what your strengths are you in a position where you're able to utilize them? And I'm going to tell you a little story that, actually, before I do, let me read this. Chances are you don't. All too often, our natural talents go untapped. From the cradle to the cubicle, we devote more time to fixing our shortcomings than to developing our strengths. So I'm going to almost wrap up here by sharing this little story that lines up with our strengths. So if you see this picture and you're a parent and your son comes home and he has a report card and he's got a C on this one test, but he also has an A+ on, let's say even more than one. Let's say he's got 3 A+ and 1 C. What would you focus on? When you get that information for your child, you got 3 A+ and you got 1 C, where would you naturally be inclined to focus? Would you say, this is amazing, you've got these A+. Wow, you got an A+ in math and you got an A+ in English, and ooh, do you enjoy writing? Do you enjoy speaking? Like, what do you enjoy about that? Let's build those strengths. Or do you say, that's great that you got A+, but man, you got a C in science. Wow, what are we going to do about that? How can we improve your science skills? How can we work on it? How can we make that mark better? Okay, so what would you do? Would you focus on making the strengths stronger, or would you focus on the one weakness and trying to bring it up to average? Because I'll tell you that, let's see if they got a slide on this, I can't recall. But studies have been shown that it's like 90% of people would, or maybe more, I can't recall the number, it was like at least 90% of people in North America would focus on the weakness. And when I heard it, I was like, oh, I could see why. I mean, that might be, I would have done that too. I think that's what I would have done. I would have said, how can we make your C better? Let's work on that one. As long as they're passing the class, like this, school, focus on the strengths. Focus on your strengths. Society is unfortunately bringing people's lower points up to average is not going to make you an expert. It's not going to make you a superstar. If you want to excel, then you have to do the thousands of hours in your strengths, thousands of hours in something that you're passionate about as well, building those strengths so that you can be, an incredible, whatever it is, like maybe it's an incredible speaker if this child was amazing in English and they loved speaking or language, I'm saying English as a language, whatever language class it is, but, and they maybe are not going to be a scientist, because so as long as they, have perhaps a general understanding of it, maybe that's okay. Okay, I think I'm getting my point across, but the point is that you are never going to be an expert superstar in something that's a weakness. I mean, unless you have a deep, passionate desire to do it, it is possible. So maybe I won't say that as a fact completely if you do it. But for the most part, people in their weaknesses, it's because it's also not an area of passion, typically. Again, so let's say, you're not going to become an expert in an area that's a weakness, unless, for the most part. So why don't we focus on the strengths, the things that you're already good at, and then you can become the best in the world at. Okay? All right, I think I got my point across. The 3 pillars of purpose include a list of all your desires, a list of all your values, and you compare to what you truly say you value versus what you are showing by your actions that you value, and then taking a really deep look at your strengths. That picture in one of the previous slides was Strengths Finder. It's a website. You can go, there's I think there's one that's maybe $25 or something. There's one that's a really low investment. You can actually take a test and it will help you to discover what your strengths are. But yes, you come up with these 3 pillars and then being aware of how to tie those 3 pieces together. Okay, so I hope this added a lot of value. If you do have any questions about this, this is an area I do a lot of work in. I do a lot of teaching in and coaching in. So if you have questions about this, feel free to comment on this video. You can ask questions here or reach out anytime. But I really hope that this adds value and you got some interesting insights from this class today, or this little lesson. Okay, so like the video, feel free to share, comment. We'd love to hear from you. And sign up for our emails as well if you'd like, and you can get more videos like this. This one's a bit long, but you can get more helpful content. All right, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.